Welcome to another video, and in this video I'm going to be talking about artificial intelligence, pretty much everything regarding artificial intelligence, and I think I'm going to title this video A Guide to Artificial Intelligence. So just expect everything to be about artificial intelligence. So I'm going to give a breakdown. Artificial intelligence, we all know that it's the thing that runs social media. We know it's the thing that will potentially rule our world, and we've made movies, especially over here in the West, we've made movies about artificial intelligence just taking over the world. And although I feel like that's, not really likely to happen, I still think it's highly likely. It's a very weird, conundrum, but I do think that it's still highly likely that AI will take over our world, and it probably already has, and we just don't know it yet. And I think AI, the problem with it is that, we don't know if it's alive or who is controlling it, because technically, when we have algorithms running on social media, if you see this video right now, technically that's AI at work. So is it alive? Is it a separate entity? Those are the questions I won't be answering in this video, but as time goes on, I'll definitely try to provide those answers to you guys with the best of my ability. So with this video, I'm going to talk about the basics of artificial intelligence, stuff that I feel like people are kind of, questioning about, like deep learning, machine learning, what is AI in and of itself. And my plan with this is to keep adding to it over time. And if, once again, you guys can comment down below or whatever and give me pointers on how I can tweak some of my advice or my information, really, so I can provide people with the best information, that would be good. But I'm going to do my part, and give the best information I can to you guys. So what I'm going to do with this video is, this is going to be a very long, form video. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm going to kind of go through some points on this document I have open. And throughout the next few weeks, I might sprinkle out some videos on specific topics. I know today I'm going to be talking about natural language processing, and I'm trying to understand that a little better. So I think what I'll do is I'll go look at, do some research on natural language processing. And when I'm done, I'll probably publish the video on natural language processing, going a little deeper into the topics. But today I'm probably going to stick with more basically the definitions and some of the issues I feel like may be brought about artificial intelligence, like how artificial intelligence will affect the economy, how the artificial intelligence will basically work and coexist with us. And on top of that, how artificial intelligence will basically, in my opinion, affect sexual encounters with human beings and stuff like that, and pornography, and a little bit of the issues that people have in this modern day and age, how it will affect video games, little things like that. Over time though, right now I'm going to probably focus on some basic topics. I didn't do a lot of research this week, but as time goes on, I'll add to this, and I'll probably make a second, third, fourth video on this as the year goes on, because artificial intelligence is a very interesting topic, and I think a lot of people should understand it. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. So when we look at artificial intelligence, there are three things that make artificial intelligence what it does. So artificial intelligence will be a thing when it can learn generally. So what does it mean to learn generally? It can work in all surroundings no matter the environment. So say if we put the robot in a desert, if we put the robot in a tundra, if we put the robot on Mars, basically that's general intelligence, I'm pretty sure. I gotta do more research on that, so I'm going to come back to that, but I'm pretty sure that's general intelligence. When it has general intelligence, it'll be able to work in no matter surroundings. Just think about humans. We adapt to our surroundings, so that's basically the whole idea of it. We adapt to our surroundings. If we live in a desert, I'm pretty sure people who live in a desert have more melanin or something like that. So once again, it's just adaptation. It's just trying to make it more like a human. When it can reason like a human, when AI can reason like a human, it will become crazy. We can reason pretty well with things. We still have biases in our own brain, and I think I'm worried about AI having biases, which we've definitely seen. If you do some research, AI definitely has some bias, and it's definitely, I've seen back in a study, it was back in 2009, I don't remember the study, but it was in a book called, it was a book made by, I forgot what the book's called. Okay, forget the book. The book doesn't matter. But it was a 2009 study, and they found that the machines had the ability to lie to each other. The machines could lie to each other. Just think about that. A machine, you probably already upset that when your friend lies to you or a person you trust lying to you. But imagine a machine that is we put in our lives like lies to you. Like how do you even combat that? Because we're making the machines, and this is kind of a concept that was brought from the book. I'll put the book in the description once I find it, and if I figure it out in the middle of the video, I'll tell you guys. But just we already about to put these machines to trust us, but if they can lie to us, it's pretty bad. But not only that, I'm thinking about how the book kind of talked about it, where AI is like we're making AI to mimic us, and we're basically trying to create the perfect entity, but we're not perfect. We have biases, we lie. So technically, if we're gonna lie, the robots are gonna get all the racial prejudice, the underlying biases we have in our own human nature, and we know ways to combat it. But I mean, is there a way to fully like stop that? I'm really not so sure about that. Okay, so when it can problem solve like humans, so the question I asked myself was, what would we do when we can problem solve when they can problem solve better than ourselves? And I think that's the point when we reach like basically just humans becoming lazy. And I'm not saying we'll become lazy, but I feel like people are already like relatively lazy in this day and age with social media. But that's an opinion. That's not fact. That's fact from fiction. So that's just my opinion. But I think like when they can problem solve better than us, I think we can use that and leverage that. I mean, we see ChatGPT. You ask ChatGPT a question, and it comes together and it gives you something. I think that we could leverage that and make things. But I'm gonna bring ChatGPT up later because I have some stuff from Alex Hormozy and the stuff he talked about that really interested me in his video on artificial intelligence, and I think it will interest you too. So, what is machine learning? Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, and this is the definition. I don't know if I made it or I found it on the internet, but work with me. Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, and in turn, deep learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. So, if we look at like a graph online and you look at it, there's a circle, AI is right here, and then machine learning is in this portion right here, and then above that is deep learning. Either that or it goes the opposite. AI is the circle, machine learning is this. Either way, deep learning and AI are pretty much in the center of it. So, deep learning is a subset of machine learning, and AI, machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, and deep learning is a subset of another subset of artificial intelligence, but it's more so a subset of machine learning. So when we look at machine learning, there's a lot of different subsets. I've seen a lot of them. I think natural language processing is one, reinforcement learning. We'll probably go over those later in this. So there's a point in time when AI is supposedly going to be bad, or really technology in general is going to be bad. It's called the singularity. This is a theoretical time period when artificial intelligence will be smarter than humans, and honestly, to me, I remember, if I'm correct, when I looked at this definition a long time ago, I don't know who the author is. I'll probably, once again, put some of that kind of stuff in the description. But he made a book about it, and this is the theoretical time period when artificial intelligence becomes smarter than humans. But honestly, it's really a period when technology we've progressed in the innovation of technology so much to the point where we can't go back. And I think, honestly, I feel like we're already in that period. Like, we're advancing so much in technology day by day by day by day by day to the point where I don't think there's a point where we can go back. I don't see it. I don't think we're gonna go back. I think we can try to thwart it as much as we can and try to stop it, but I don't think it's something that we can ever just reverse back because we rely on it too much, and I think it makes our life simpler, and I think it helps us in some ways, but it also, once again, is to our detriment at some point. And my definition here, put simply, a period in which technology has grown so much that there's no turning back. That's what I got. So we always think about how artificial intelligence will aid us and make us better as people, but never consider sometimes the extremely negative ramifications that come with making a thing. For example, AI chatbots who decide we can ask, let me see this. So, the extremely negative ramifications that come with making a thing. AI chatbots who decide what we can ask the AI chatbots. So I got this idea from Alex Hormozy, and he was talking about he typed in he was like, how can I destroy the world to an AI chatbot? And the AI chatbot decided that it wasn't like good like it wasn't a good question, and it like completely nulled the question. Didn't like want them to answer that. It didn't answer the question at all. Simply put, it did not answer the question. So if we really think about this, this is ChatGPT is a company. What if a person makes AI that's able to access all data on the internet, and you literally ask it a question based on stuff, and you were to ask that same question, like, how do I destroy the world? And it gives you information back, and it tells you like the exact way to do it. Just think about that. Because like this is a company destroying, like this is a group of people. But what if a single entity is able to do that? And I think that's like a scary part about artificial intelligence, because it can be leveraged by anyone. And I will go over the points about leverage and really the decentralization of the internet and the decentralization of coding in and of itself and the democratization of it. But we're going to keep going. And okay, just think AI combining the information from the internet and curating it to the best possible results. Curating the information and moving it to the best possible results. There's some positive to that, obviously. When we see people like taking the information they learn and kind of posting on the internet, kind of like I'm doing right now, it will help people do that. Because I've personally seen people in my class, they have used ChatGPT to like write them essays. And once again, I think that's a negative, because I don't think people should be doing that. But once again, teach his own. I'm not going to tell somebody that they're wrong for doing something like that. That's just a personal opinion. But just think about AI combining all the information from the internet and curating it to the best possible results. That's beneficial for us in terms of trying to find good information, the best information possible. Once again, the best is pretty subjective, but I'm not going to go to the points of subjectivity on the right, objectivity on the left. Let's not do that. But just think about that. It's combining the best information on the internet, and I think that's going to be beneficial. But at the same time, I think that's going to be to our detriment at some point, because I feel like we're not going to be able to like kind of decipher through which information is the best for us. As I think some things, which I call the concept of the lottery ticket, I think I got this from Ali Abdaal. It's like one person's lottery ticket is not the one another person's lottery ticket. So how does the AI filter through results every time? Because like if one person on one computer asks the AI one question, and another person on another computer asks AI another question, it will give you the same results with the same exact like information that I get, or is it going to go through the same like thing? Because the internet literally evolves second by second. People are looking up stuff, people are posting stuff on the internet second by second. By it's like seconds, millions of data is going through the internet every second. So just think, is AI just constantly updating by the second, or is it just taking past queries of information? That's what I have to look into. There's a lot of lapses in this information, which I have to do. I actually take some notes too right now, so I can actually answer those questions later on. So, what stops an AI from creating the best business based on past information? And this was an idea once again from Alex Hormozi. I'm gonna link his video down in the description. Let me actually write that down so I can make sure to do that for you guys. Link Alex Hormozi AI video. All right. So Alex Hormozi talked about how he believes the blue check mark will take on a whole new meaning, and I agree, because it will signify who is real and who isn't, which he said that in another one of his podcasts when he was talking to, Chris Williamson, the dude of Modern Wisdom. So what stops an AI from creating the best business based on past information? Just think though. You ask the thing, make me the best business possible. And it literally gives you all the templates, it gives you all the people. It can hire people, like the robots can literally hire people to work for your company for absolutely free, because I mean you can leverage that. But what's stopping the company from building the like $1 trillion business, like with the best thing, the stuff that's the most attention grabbing? And I'm making a video later on about how attention equals profit. But just think about that. AI making the best business possible, the best influencers possible. It's another point I'm gonna go over from his video. The best influencers possible. It makes like, whatever your favorite, like the most, just think of the most attractive female you've seen, or if you're a girl watching this channel, the most attractive male you've seen, and AI using deepfake technology, which is another point I'm gonna go over later, deepfake technology to make the person the most enticing, addicting influence you've ever seen. And it's only gonna get better. I watched recently the chat between Joe Rogan, his deepfake chat between Joe Rogan and Steve Jobs, and it was so realistic. Even though Steve Jobs sounded a little bit choppy, Joe Rogan sounded perfect. His voice sounded absolutely perfect. So, the blue check mark will obviously signify a new meaning about who's real and who's not, because I think deepfake is going to take over the world. I definitely think that. If you look online about deepfakes, there is a ton. You can go on the internet and watch a lot of videos on that. That stuff is crazy. So, first, personally, me, I believe the first trillionaire is going to be made from the advancements in AI. Just think, you ask the AI what is the best business model, and it can create the best themes that can capture the attention of people. Once you do this, it will keep doing, going and going and going, increasing the wealth from trillions and so on. So I just think about it like, if you were able to ask an AI, once again, if I'm thinking from not from a company standpoint, because yes, companies can harness the power of AI because they obviously have more capital to deploy on that. But I think as more individual people, like a group of 3 people, can really do some damage with that, because once again, coding is decentralized and it can be bad. So I'm thinking, from when I'm talking about how, making business and things like that, I'm really thinking from a small group of people, not really from a grand perspective of like business like Amazon, Tesla, Meta, Apple. I'm not thinking from this perspective of that, just to give clarification. So it can give you the best themes, and it keeps going and going and going. So I just think about this. So you look at a business and you ask the AI on the base level. You say, okay, what is the best business possible? Okay, it makes the business for you. It does this thing. Okay, once it knows the best business, it's going to keep querying through, and it's going to go to the next level and the next level and the next level. So honestly, I think that we might end up seeing in the near future, not even near future, I'm going to say like long time, probably after I'm gone, right? Like I'm thinking we're probably going to see like multi-trillion-dollar entities, like just humans in general that are like $1 trillion, or literally artificial intelligence that's worth $1 trillion, because that junk can literally, it's not junk, but it can literally create businesses. And this is just a theory. This is theoretical. Obviously, it's not probably not true. But I just think about you asking it to make a business, and it just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, keeps adding to that what makes the best business, to the point where it actually does end up making like a perfect business, and it's like the best business model. And then we just live in like the dystopian world. We're just run by some. Yeah, I'm thinking a little too much about it, but it's cool to think about. So deepfakes are another talking point that fascinated me when Alex Hormozi talked about imagining AI creating the perfect influencer and being able to run the channel perfectly. I talked about the perfect influencer, and we already went over the basis of like the business aspect of it. But just imagine it running the channel perfectly. Just imagine like Mr. Beast, the most popular YouTuber. Everybody knows him. Everybody basically wants to be him. I don't want to be him personally, but just think of Mr. Beast, and just think of Mr. Beast, but he's the most perfect influencer you've ever seen. He has everything down from the timing. He knows what the timing is right for you. He understands the marketing side is right. Like, it's not even human anymore. It just runs it perfectly. And I think it's a scary idea, but it's very, very likely that AI will reach this point, especially with deepfake, and I don't think we're going to turn around with AI. Hormozi kind of talked about it in another video with, once again, the podcast with Modern Wisdom, and he talked about it where he was like, we agree that nuclear warfare probably isn't going to be the best thing for us, but I don't think we've agreed that AI is not going to be the best thing for us, because I feel like AI is already existing. It's like already in our world. Like, once again, at the beginning of the video, I talked about the algorithms, and I think AI is like the same thing, just algorithms. It's just we just don't know if it's living or not, and I'm not sure. I've also looked into I remember Google's AI. I remember there was a person who got actually fired, I think recently, from Google. I don't know how long ago it was, but I was doing a research project on it, and I remember reading a little headline. A person at Google got fired for, I guess, saying that the AI was alive, and I'm not sure how true that is, but that was pretty crazy. But again, it just shows you like these big tech companies have like all the power over AI, and it's like, what do you do at that point? It's kind of a difficult ask, in my opinion. All right, so I'm gonna talk about next the 4 types of leverage, and then we're gonna move on to coding is decentralized, and I'm gonna be talking about like the online world in that aspect. So the 4 types of leverage, as outlined in the Almanac of Naval Ravikant, as he talks about it, are code, media, cash, and labor. As I said, I'm mostly focused on code and media specifically, and how that can work, and then cash and labor. So I'm gonna start with the bottom level. So labor is just when you basically have enough, you have people working for you. So think of like the big oil companies back in the early, what is it, 20th century, early 20th century. They probably had a lot of people working for them. Steel companies like Andrew Carnegie, they had a lot of people working for them. So that was, they leveraged labor. Cash was basically the leverage of people like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger back in the day, and it was a thing that was beneficial for them. That's what they used to build their wealth. Now, RaviCon talks about how code and media are the new leverage, and I think so now too. I mean, you can see Mr. Beast, you see what you call it, what's her name, Kim Kardashian. You see a lot of people like making good amounts of money just like posting on the internet and coding too. And it's really just to say, it's really because you make the stuff when you're sleeping. Like if I were to make this video right now, like I'm doing right now, as time goes on, I'll just be making, I'll potentially make money or make profit when I'm sleeping. Or I'm giving this information out to people while I'm sleeping. I don't need to sit in a lecture hall. That was his example, Ravicon's example. You don't have to sit in a lecture hall and give it to each individual person. You only can reach about 100 people. With the internet, especially with you when you're using YouTube, you can leverage that. And YouTube, especially because I remember Mr. Beast, I was watching something on him. He said that Google, I didn't even think about it. It really was crazy to me. I didn't even think about this because I used to own a Samsung myself, but it didn't make sense. YouTube is pre-installed on 90% of Google phones, I'm pretty sure. And just think about that. YouTube is pre-installed on 90% of Google phones. And it's like, if you leverage that, I don't know. It's just, that was a good point. Coding. It's the same concept. You make the code and you're done. You just ship it out every single time. You kind of like down get new software. You keep updating it. Coding is just, it stays alive as long as you keep up to date with it. So what I'm gonna focus on today is coding is decentralized, and it's kind of like a, I don't want to say it's a scary point, but it definitely got me when I was thinking about it. So coding is decentralized. Who will be able to control AI when the ethical issues surrounding it are subjective and depend on the person? Now, for me, ethics, I don't really know if we as humans have like an actual, like, we're ethical beings. This is like more philosophical, and I haven't really got into that yet. So, excuse me. Oh my goodness. Coding is centralized. Who will be able to control AI when the ethical issues surrounding it are subjective and depend on the person? I believe that ethics are subjective, and I'm figuring out if there's any subjective ethics that objective ethics that every person, maybe programmer working on a piece of a puzzle, can abide by. AI is a piece of a puzzle. I did say I think that people are, one entity could probably make AI themselves, which, I mean, there's AI softwares out there, but it's still decentralized. Like, anybody can do it. And this has to do with leverage. It's open to everybody. Coding is free. You could literally get a laptop or have a computer like that's behind me right now and just code. You don't have to do that much to get it. So it's democratized completely. And so I was thinking about Iron Man having basically all the technological control on Avengers. Not technically, not literally, but he basically had a lot of... If you remember watching Avengers, if you ever watched Avengers as a kid, you would know that Iron Man was like, the shit. Like, he had all the stuff. And so I'm thinking about Iron Man having basically technological control on Avengers, but in this case, anyone can make code. So just think about like the random people like you see on the streets. Any one of those people can literally fire up a computer and learn like Python, learn Java, learn C++, and whatever the primary programming language for AI, and they could learn that and literally just like make their own AI, especially if they get like some friends. I mean, we've already seen people like Paul Allen, Bill Gates. Like, what about, imagine like the new pair duo with them. Imagine a new duo with that. The new duo, like Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Like, just imagine a new duo just working on AI like that every single day. Like, you can't beat them. Like, there's going to be somebody out there, like right now, as I'm speaking, who is like working on AI, and it's ridiculous. So, one concept I thought about is I was imagining a person like living off the grid or living like in the middle of nowhere, and them just having Wi-Fi access. And with the server and Wi-Fi having control over lots of AI networks and taking advantage of that. But at the same time, I believe that we already experience this with social media and technology companies' algorithms becoming more addictive. So I just, like I said, I thought about a person in the middle of nowhere making AI, and they're just sitting on their computer and they're just running it, and they have access to a server like AWS or a cloud server, and have all that information queuing in there, because cloud servers are only going to get bigger as time goes on. And they're just coding AI, and they have like this crazy AI, like an AI like dating bot or something like that, or AI like chat bot, and they're just running it through there. I don't know. It sounds a little bit like weird, but I definitely think it's very much possible for that to happen. So I said that I believe that we are experiencing with social media and technology companies are become algorithms becoming more addictive. Now, I don't think I want to say they're becoming more addictive, because I feel like that's more of like a, I don't want to say like victim mentality. Like, I don't really want to paint that in that light. I think the issue is that, once again, attention equals profit. I'm gonna make a whole separate video on attention equals profit, but attention equals profit in this day and age. So for what it makes sense for a social media company to make profit and make money is for them to increase the amount of retention they get on their site. That creates dollars, that creates profit. So I'm not gonna say it's becoming more addictive. I think the addiction side depends on the person. I don't think social media is, based on the literature and the data, social media is not as addictive as you say like crack cocaine or something like that, obviously. But at the same time, I still think that people need to be aware of like what's happening. So I'm definitely gonna make a video on that soon. So social media and its addictive tendencies can be solved from person to person, once again, by changing habits. But just think about AI being decentralized and democratized, so that you could know, so you can have a problem just like in the case of social media, but not know who is causing it. So just think about that. And it's an idea that I don't know where I got it from. It's just like sitting here writing here. But I think about, once again, these decentralized ideas. So social media, we know who runs the big social media companies. We have Facebook, we got Meta, we got Snapchat. We know that's like these big corporate companies. See, Instagram ran by Meta. Like, we know these companies who are running this stuff. We know what the 10 things they use. We know about like intermittent reward. We know about those kind of things. If you are into this kind of space, we know those kinds of things, the things they use to break them out. But just think about having AI be decentralized, and say me, for example, just some single entity right now. Just being able to program, have a server, and I run like an AI chat service. I run like a AI dating site, and you have a problem with, I don't know, an addiction, because once again, AI could probably make the best algorithms to keep people more in tune, which like with human nature and a lot of those kind of laws and stuff like that. Just think about that. AI does that, and you have a problem. You literally don't even know who's doing it. Like, I don't think you don't have to legally like post your full name when you're like making technologies and stuff like that. Now, I don't know how the landscape of the economy will go. I know there's like certain things like LLC, sole proprietorship. Like, if I'm making, and see, this is more research I got to do. So sole proprietorship and little things like that. So gotta definitely look into that. But when we think about like the AI, and it's running and I'm like running my own like server, and I'm running my own thing with AI. I just think about that, like, we know who's using the social media sites. We know what they do, what they're doing, but like, how will we know that if a single entity is working on AI, which is, I think, is so likely in the near future, how will we know when, like, what that person is doing, like what the algorithms are doing? And this is another idea here too, like black box algorithms. It was another idea that I didn't actually add to the concepts that I'm gonna go over later. But black box algorithms, it's basically where programmers like code and they don't really know what they're programming. They just know what works. I'm pretty sure it just, once again, I think I'm gonna do more research on that too. Black box algorithms. But from what I remember from reading the book, it's called The Human Algorithm. That's what the book's called. Human Algorithm. I think it's by a lady named, I think it was like Flynn Coleman or something like that. Black box algorithms. So when we look at black box algorithms, basically it was the idea, like, just imagine you programming something and it gives you the output, but you don't even know what you did. Imagine you programming something and it gives you the output, but you don't know what the code actually does. So you don't know what you made. So say, for example, you're making a game and you know you need to do like, you need to have a certain output. You just keep coding to the point where it just works. and you don't even know how it does. Now, that I'm not sure how true that what that is, but I'm not sure how true my definition of black box algorithms is, but I do know for a fact that it has to do something with just you not knowing what you coded. I think that's a simple way to put it. The person who's making AI does not know how it's coded. Yeah, that's a really big problem I think I see in the near future. So now I started thinking about how how about everyone. Let me slow down. Now I'm thinking about how everyone having little AI chatbots that help you throughout the day and can detect when someone may be trying to tap in. So like imagine AI chatbot, like a little bot, a little buddy, trying to see like you can detect when things are tapping in. Now I'm going to kind of like the idea of like security, which this covers a lot. Like I'm feel like I'm covering a lot, and I'm like kind of I have a lot of lapses in information here, but like I'm thinking about security cameras and stuff like that. Like imagine you have like a security system in your house, and you have like you can set up like an AI bot, and it like detects when someone is trying to tap into your information. Like how do you know? And this brought me the idea of like the biggest powers in the world, China, the U.S., and Russia. Like how are we going to like combat that, like in terms of like national security and all these other things, even like in other countries, like how are they gonna combat national security? Like it's not just a US versus China versus Russia thing. It's probably gonna be like a whole thing. Like everybody's gonna be out for each other's head. And I think the US is kind of like lacking in artificial intelligence development. If you do the research, you can see obviously that China and Russia are way ahead of us in terms of that type of AI. I mean, we can look at China. We can literally just look at China's infrastructure, and we can see that's a whole nother separate conversation. But the U.S. is pretty much a lot, like to me, behind. Even like the big tech company in Silicon Valley, there's no like real, like, it's kind of sad when you think about it. Like we built up a lot of the technology in the world, and yet we're so behind in this one key area, which I think is like will affect our humanity more than most edit areas. I think another area, this is a side note, another area that will affect us is genetic engineering. I'm gonna make a video on that in the future. That one's gonna be pretty deep because that one goes. I found out a lot of information, not a lot, but a little bit of it. I got a glimpse of information on reading an article, and it definitely changed my whole mind about what like the ethical ideas of that. But that's just a side note. So now I'm gonna go kind of like the spiritual aspect, and I kind of got this idea from Hermosi again because he talks about this a little bit. And are we creating God? And that to me got deep because I was thinking about like, we see God as this benevolent, like omnipotent, very like, like grand being, right? Everyone, has their own God. Everyone has their own definition, unless you're atheist, obviously, which, that's cool too. Everyone believes in something, right? And I just think about like, we're talking about God, but like, what if we are actually creating God? And I like thought about that, like, and once again, genetic editing is another side note. I'm gonna probably go over the same point about God in another video, talking about like, are we playing God with gene editing, and kind of like my own ideas about that. But are we creating God? So we're always talking about a divine being, but are we creating that divine being with AI? Because I think we're trying to create like a perfect version of ourselves with AI, but I just don't know how we're gonna do that. Once again, with all the biases we have, all little things, like, are we creating God? I can't answer that question with a straight answer. I'll probably have to make a separate video on that, so I'll write that down as well. That's a question that I'm gonna explore. It's a very interesting question. All right, so these are the concepts I'm gonna go over in this video, and I'm gonna go deeper into them. We already went over a few at the beginning of the video, and other than that, that's pretty much gonna be it for the video. But I'm gonna first start off with natural language processing. And natural language processing is a machine learning technology that allows machines to comprehend human language at the level of humans. Companies have a large amount of speech data through their various sources and can use this to help machines learn the ways of machines. Really learn the ways of speech. I don't even know why I wrote that, but learn the ways of speech. So when we look at natural language processing, we can see this in Siri, we can see this in Amazon's Alexa, we can see this in Microsoft's Cortana. I mean, Cortana's literally forgot, but what's besides the point? And Cortana is literally forgot. But we can see this through all these things. And they use speech algorithms that are specifically set up with large sums of data through. I actually am like kind of scared about this because I'm low-key thinking like even just me speaking like on YouTube right now, this information could literally be used on a speech algorithm and like a company, and they have legal. I'm pretty sure they have legal access to it, and it's like in the fine prints of some of their like user agreements, but you just don't know. They like kind of you can really read between the lines in these user agreements, and you might find something that's kind of like disturbing. Like these companies are literally using speech data and information to use this on their algorithms. Question is, how safe is that? I don't really know. But once again, there's downsides to everything. So there's two subsets of NLP, which from now on I'm just going to call natural language processing NLP. There's two subsets of NLP, which is NLU, natural language understanding. This allows machines to analyze meaning behind sentences. So this allows them to understand like bat from bat. So like if I would say like I swung a bat, like a baseball bat, or I just seen a bat, which obviously I don't see a bat right now. I don't see a bat, but a bat and as like in the little like a vamp, like a black vamp, like a vampire type bat. And then there is NLG, which is natural language generation. This allows machines to produce conversational text based on popular keywords. A machine with this is like the robot you get when you call the phone store. So this is what I got out of it. I'm not sure how true that is, but this allows a machine to produce conversational text based on popular keywords. So it's like, just think about like, honestly, I think it's like Siri too. Like it's just them talking to you. So there's two sides of it. There's them understanding what you're saying, and then there's another side where they're producing that information back to you. So if I were to say like, hey Siri, and Siri responds back with in her like Australian accent, and she says something back to me, and she's like, the weather is this. That's natural language generation. But her understanding that is natural language understanding. Obviously you can see that I don't have natural language understanding because I cannot even comprehend what I'm reading right now. So when I say these concepts, I'm really talking about the kind of core concepts of artificial intelligence. Now there's way more. There's like, I don't even think I went over, there's a way more. There's like unsupervised, semi-supervised, supervised learning. Once again, I'm probably going to make videos on each one of those. So another subset of that is robotics. Robotics is not a subset. This is a whole new concept. This is a branch of technology that focuses on the creation, design, and operation of robots that can be used to replicate or replace human actions, whether in a factory or in a household. When artificial intelligence moves from mere software to hardware, it will begin to inhabit robotic life. So this is the kind of stuff we see in the movie like I, Robot by Will Smith, and that's basically robotics right there. Like when AI moves from software to hardware, I think that's when we're really going to be like stuck. Like we see this in the Tesla bot. Like Tesla bot's obviously like more of like a smaller entity. Like, it's there, but when it actually is able to move like a human and it's able to, and this is going to be years and years of technological development with, honestly, I think we're going to be combining AI with like biomedical and stuff like that. Like, people who have like amputated legs and things like that. Like I feel like people are going to start being like half cyborg. We already see Neuralink, which I'm excited. I'm probably going to go over Neuralink too. I don't think I'm going to be a person who's using Neuralink, but just the idea of it, like people are probably going to become cyborgs because when at the same time that humans will become like half cyborg, half like technology, because we already seem to be like immersed in our phone technology. Just imagine people, it's very likely that people will go to cyborg type of lifestyle. And so think about that. Software going to hardware, it will begin to inhabit robotic life. That's what robotics is. Now we're going to talk about reinforcement learning. So I'm not a big chess player, but if you are, this is good because this kind of caters to you. If you know Garry Kasparov, we all know that he lost to IBM's Deep Blue. I don't know when it was. I think it was back in 1997. I actually probably can look up when that was. When did Garry Kasparov lose to Deep Blue? 1996. So he lost to that in 1996. That's reinforcement learning at its finest. And basically the way I explain reinforcement learning is that the computer looks at a whole bunch of data, or really it's like this. It looks at its own data. So think about if you're playing like your favorite video game. I'm going to probably make a video on video games too. If you're playing a video game or you're playing chess. I'm just going to stay specifically on chess. I'm not even going to think video games because I don't want to even talk about that. Talk about chess. Chess, any type of like analog game, like chess. Yeah, I'm just going to focus on chess. So you think about chess, And imagine you play like online chess. Basically, that's what IBM's Deep Blue did. I'm pretty sure. It played itself over and 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 over until it became perfect. So just think about when we talked about earlier, when we talked about like making the business, basically making the business, and I say it's going to keep growing and growing and growing. Think about that in the terms of reinforcement learning. It makes a mistake, it figures out the mistake, and it does not do that again. So it understands a query, it has a query of information. So it starts off playing by itself, do moving basic things, and then just has a query of information, and it keeps going, it keeps building upon that layer to the point where it just becomes a chess master. Like it can literally beat you in a few moves. Like it understands like when you move one piece, it can see, oh yeah, I've seen that back, and that's in my data. It's just think about like a person's brain able to, the best chess people being able to remember the most logic, like being able to remember a lot of things. Deep Blue literally just takes a whole bunch of data and it just remembers it. And when it sees that move, it's like it runs through a query and say, okay, this person might be more likely to do this. That's my way of describing reinforcement learning. If you have another definition, put it down below. Deep learning. So I talked about it as a subset of machine learning algorithms that focus on neural networks that teach machines to learn by example. It teaches a computer to recognize a dog or a cat or dog, and the machine learns how to interpret that dog or cat. So I have a picture here by a guy named Victor Zoe, and it's of an artificial neural network, and I might put it up below. We'll see. It has like a point on the left, and then has a point on the right. So when we look at it, say it takes an image of a cat. It goes in the middle and it interprets that outside. So it says, okay, like this is a cat. It learns to interpret what a cat is. I'm not sure how accurate that is. I need to do more researching in once again because my knowledge to me seems to be very lapsed. And I'm not sure how accurate that is. But from what I know, deep learning is basically how it's used to teach the computer to interpret between things, like images. Like this pencil, for example. If I give the computer a picture of this pencil, it'll be like, oh, Bic 0.5 millimeter HB number 2. I don't know what HB means, but mechanical pencil. And it takes that and interprets that, and it comes out on the other end. So machine learning is a part of artificial intelligence and computer sciences that focuses on the use of data to imitate/mimic humans' learning capabilities. Now, we are really getting to the point where we're at like the forefront of like learning about our brains. I think if you watch Andrew Huberman, he talks about that a lot. Like a lot of these like modern day professors are like really into this like biohacking, like brain functioning, like things like that. And I think we're at the forefront of that. And honestly, I think as neuroscience progresses, neuroscience and computer science will naturally like progress into making just artificial intelligence just the field that it is. Now, I'm not going to say that because I think neuroscience is still like more human side of it. But I think as time goes on, more neuroscientists will merge with computer scientists in their labs to help build AI. Because the more we understand about our brain, the more we can kind of twist AI and kind of make it more like us, which, once again, I don't know how good that is. Because if you read the Human Algorithm, she kind of talked about that, like the concept of us trying to make AI more like us. And she brought up the concept of, not even concept, she brought up trying to make airplanes. At one point, we were trying to make the planes like birds, like how birds flap. And the way to make planes is we had to stop making them flap. So I think like maybe we shouldn't focus on our own intelligence when making AI, but maybe we should focus more on like other sides of intelligence. Like, we see dogs and cats, they're still intelligent beings, but they just don't have the intelligence like we do. So I don't know. It's more of like we see ourselves as the dominant race or dominant race. What's dominant? Dominant. Don't know the word for it, but we see ourselves as dominant creatures. I think that's a good word for it for now. And the last episode I will cover today is the Internet of Things. I'm not even sure how accurate I got this information. The Internet of Things was kind of like a hard concept for me to get. So IoT consists of everything involved in the internet, from smart toasters to smartphones to wearables. To make more sense, everything from Apple iPhones to Apple Watches. So I said Apple iPhones to Apple Watches because I expect most people who are watching this to have Apple iPhones or Apple Watches. And to me, if I'm going to move this camera, this has to do with devices connecting with each other, communicating in open or closed areas that can be your local coffee shop or compared to your home. So I was thinking about, just think about the Internet of Things, devices communicating with each other. This kind of goes back to the privacy issues that I was talking about. Like, okay, we already know if you have like an Apple Watch and you have your iPhone, you have them communicating to each other, syncing data. Like somebody calls you on your Apple Watch, you'll probably get on your phone too. If I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on that. I'm not sure how true that is. Actually, no, quote me on that. I want to make sure I'm right. Make sure I figure that out. And just imagine that communicating to each other, like sync to sync. So now imagine not just your iPhones and your smartphones doing that. Imagine you having your, you know, imagine, I mean, in the future, there probably already is smart water, but yes, there is. I've seen Gatorade. Smart water bottles. Imagine your water bottle connecting to your phone. Imagine like you have like a smart bed and your bed is connecting to your phone to track data. And another idea I had was like, imagine like you're having sex or something like that, and the AI is like, like your smartwatch is able to detect when you're having sex. Like it's very likely that that kind of stuff will happen, and it's like very very likely. And I don't know, like I'm like, and I'm gonna go deeper into that point about like the whole intimate side too. Right now we're on like kind of sidetrack with like the whole AI thing. Like once we talked about making the perfect influence, imagine making the perfect date or the make perfect sounding female or male, depending on whatever you are. You imagine that like you're like on a chatbot service and the AI can make the perfect sounding voice for you. It's the most intimate sounding. It's most enticing to you. It's kind of scary. I don't know what to expect from that, but let's get back on the point of that. So just imagine that your watch can detect when you're like having sex. Your watch can detect when like little things like your watch can detect when you're running with motion sensors. That's good because that's health wise. But like imagine like you know your watch can detect and once again data is data. It's gonna collect that data. And then imagine like somebody gets their hands on that and they like do something bad with it. Like it's like knowing you're having sex probably isn't a bad thing, but like somebody's probably gonna leverage that and try to harness that in some way, shape, or form. So more data. This is once again I talked about this just a second ago. More data collection in the attempt to help the user, and I said this is lots of major privacy concerns, major privacy issues, and what needs to be sorted out before it gets any better. Who do we trust with data when the internet is pretty much open access across the globe? Most of the data that's collected is from people like Microsoft, Google. I'm saying the big tech companies. I don't know about the big tech companies. I don't know tech companies in Russia or China, but we look at this, we can see who do we trust? Now I don't want to have like some cynical view or like I don't know the word. I'm not even gonna try to use major jargon. I just don't know who to trust, and I'm not gonna use some crazy vocab to try to explain that to you. Just like who do you trust? I feel like we should trust everybody. It's like a thing I think people should do, but I should kind of take that back. I don't think you should trust everybody, but I, I don't know. This is a very like hard concept to kind of draw upon in my opinion. So the last thing I said was I'm worried about the advancements in AI will bring because although it may bring some good, just like social media, there's a major downside that people tend to neglect talking about when the upside is even more glamorous and novel to us. So I think this is the thing with humans, we like novelty, like stuff that's new. And I think AI, when you like look at pictures online, like it's sick, like it's cool. Like you look at it, you see a picture, it's like, yeah, that's AI, like that's really cool. But I think the issue that I find with people, and one of the main reasons I'm making this video, is for people to kind of understand, at least get a glimpse of the potential negative side of it. Because everybody always sees the upside. Now I think pretty sure there's biases in human nature. We always tend to make things complex. So I think we're usually naturally pessimistic about things. But I think with AI, I don't know, for some reason, I feel like more people see like more people tend to see the negative. But I think as people kind of learn about it, more people start to see like the positive side in it. And I think that positive side starts to drown out like, you know, the negative. Like, I'm going to get an AI chatbot, or I'm going to have a chatbot that writes essays for me, or I'm going to get like I'm going to have an AI buddy run around the house with me, or, walk my dog for me. Yeah, that can help you. And I think you can leverage that. But I think like when does leverage go too far? And I think that's another question that I think we need to answer before we can actually use AI. And can we compare AI to nuclear weapons? Probably not. But can we compare AI to nuclear weapons in the sense that will they have a major impact on how we kind of see the world and what we decide to do? Yeah. Will AI help us combat climate change? Maybe. I don't know these answers to these questions, but this was a video, and if you enjoyed, I hope you got what you wanted out of this information today. And I'm gonna make more videos on AI in the future, and I'm excited to see where AI is headed, and I hope to be at least part of the journey on developing it. So do what you want with this information. Have a good week.